recording. I forgot to record last week, so I'm already improved. So anyway, we're gonna jump in, and so Beth, take it away.
Okay, cool. So Dan has invited our friend Veronica Turner on to kind of give us a mini update on her awesome Colombia trip. They just got back, what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago.
It's been a month, actually.
A month. Oh my
It's been a
gosh.
month.
I keep thinking Bahamas has been a month, but that's been, 3. Yeah, so we'd really love it if you would give us just a picture of what it was like, how many people you took, what did you see, what did you do? Give our friends.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, my name is Veronica, and we just got back about a month ago from Colombia. We went to Pereira, Colombia. It was an amazing opportunity, amazing experience. But before I jump into it, I just want to say thank you, Dan, just for the opportunity to jump on the class and kind of just give a summary of our experience. There was 11 of us, including myself.
Veronica, tell us a little bit about where you work and all that good stuff.
Oh, yes.
Like who you are as
I
a
work,
team.
I work for Power Plus. I work in the Corona office, and been with Power Plus for about 7 years, a little over 7 years. And it has been an amazing experience, working with just an amazing group of people. We have such a heart. I work in the service and maintenance division. We have a great leadership team. Dan Isley's part of our leadership, and just an amazing group. I work as an account manager, managing major accounts for Power Plus, and it's been amazing just to be able to be part of Giving University, to be able to get involved, and so I love the service trips. I love the big trips. These are big trips that we go on. Colombia was a big trip, and there was 11 of us that went, including myself. And it was just most women. We had 2 guys, so we do need more gentlemen to join the teams. But we have, just all kinds of opportunities, from service trips that we get to actually do more. There's more men involved, more construction projects. But these overseas trips it's amazing just to be, to go into a new country, new territory, and to be able to just embrace the culture, and to be able just to serve. We stopped by 9 organizations, and it was busy from the time that we landed. It's been, just to be able to. We did do a couple of days of volunteer time with an organization called Urban Mission. I have to translate it in Spanish because it's Misiones Urbanas. I have to remind myself to translate. They are part of a church there. They were part of our host family, and it was amazing just to be able to go into a community that really needs the support, and to be able to, pray for people, and just to be able to love on people, and just, we're there to make a difference. So we are done with our grant proposal. We're just waiting for our time for the board to be able to present that, which is next month, and we're ready to go. Anything you want me to really focus on as far as?
I guess I'm really curious. So were you guys one of the first groups to really go back after COVID? And how do you think that you were received with regards to that?
It was actually our second trip. We did Mexico in April. That was a service trip, 5 days, but this was like one of the big trips. Actually, no, Bahamas was first.
I meant for you guys into Colombia.
Yes, we were actually one of the first trips to go into. Things are barely starting to open up. We did take every layer of precaution as far as, COVID. We try to wear a mask as much as we could, just to make sure that we were safe, and we didn't really, let our guard down. So it was was great. 72 hours before our flight, we did have to do a COVID test, and I was praying that everyone was negative. And it was. So it was good. Everyone came back negative, and so we're ready to, move, get the ball going down the field, getting back home. It was the weather was, it's very tropical. It did rain, random showers, so we're always prepared with an umbrella or with, some people took ponchos, but we're prepared for the rain.
This is what number trip is this for you that you've led?
Fourth trip.
So you're a veteran. Nice.
No, I'm still learning. Even though I've, you still learn as you go. It's something new. You're always trying to improve. Leading a team, areas of improvement. But this one was very well organized, and it was, I cannot give you enough kudos, to be honest with you. Working with the host family, working all the logistics, the hotels, the transportation, where we're going to eat, making sure that everything was lined up. We do always have our calendar, and we live and breathe out that calendar.
Yeah.
So we know exactly the stops, break stops, just to make sure that everyone gets restroom breaks. We factor those into our time. So it was really well put together. So
Good. It was well planned. Well, I think part of it was because we planned it so far in advance. It was just like, come on, let's go.
well, it was a 3-year trip in the making.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, bittersweet, but really awesome. So the reason we really wanted to have you guys, get a firsthand account is so that you have a grasp of the fact that, just because you go through this class and just because you do a piece of homework and you choose an organization, to give $1,000 to, the culmination really, when you become an alumni, it's when you complete your trip, whether it's international or service trip. And I think that becomes some of the more rewarding parts of it is taking generosity to the next level and getting to meet the people that you only, kind of hear about. And as we go through trip planning, we always try to have quality hosts and really make it a really great experience. And Dan has been instrumental in, finding us creative and amazing trips. And Dan, what are you working on now? Would you remind me? Cambodia.
Cambodia, Laos. I'm going to Lebanon in March. We're working on Cuba. We're working on maybe Red Bluff. We'll have 2 Mexico trips. We're working on Uganda. And there's another one. I just can't remember which one it is. But we're trying to, which one?
Chile.
Oh, Chile. And so we're just kind of working, and then we're looking at Cambodia, Laos, kind of a combo of 2 countries. So we're working on a lot of different things.
Yeah. And so if any of you, whether or not you have an interest in going on any of those trips, if you have people who are either working in those countries or have relationships with people in those countries, we'd love to hear about it. Not to say that we'll stop, to hook up with your friends, but there's always a chance. We had kind of a random thing happen on the Belize trip. It was just last spur of the moment, and one of the team members said, hey, could we go see these people that we've been supporting for a while? And I think it actually really enhanced a lot to the trip. And then I think Dan's probably already told you, you all have an opportunity to put together a trip. If you have an interest in a place you'd like to go to, we're always, we try to keep our minds open and interested about, what's possible if you've got people, or organizations that are doing good work, all over the world. So definitely open to that. So before we jump into the topic tonight, which is about poverty, I wanted to make sure that anybody have questions about the 990. I was going to have Dan go through them if you need to. Does anybody have a 990 that you're ready to kind of present, but you're not, too sure about? Chime up, pipe up. Nobody's lips are moving. Nobody's hand going up. Yeah, Karina.
I had one that we went through as a group. It was last week.
And it was one that I use a lot at work, but it scored at a 15. So I guess it may or may not get accepted. So I wanted to ask for some advice on
I'll let Dan.
the probability
Talk through it. Okay.
of it getting accepted. Should I just look for something else? Because that's kind of what Jason's telling me, is I should just go look for something else because the likelihood of it getting approved is probably slim.
Refresh me, which one was it?
It was the it was the Operation Schoolbell Assistance League of Riverside.
Okay. I thought they were pretty good, actually. So I think just follow through on it and turn it in, and that gets you the assignment completed, especially if you like it. And you might want to, I think there was some things that were a little high. Was it promotion that was high?
Yeah, the last one.
Just try to find out why the promotion's a little high. And I would say go for it. And then if it's turned down, you still would, I'm sure, do a good presentation. You would still graduate the class. We would just suggest looking for another one if it's too tight. And so I would just, maybe you might want to scout around a little bit and see what's out there that's kind of similar to either the area or whatever you were looking at. But I think I remember it wasn't, it seemed pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it just had a 1 on F because it was at 21%.
That means it was 16 then, I think, instead of 15.
Yeah, 16, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that it could probably go through. I don't know, Beth is in on the scoring a little more than I am. Does any 16s get through, Beth?
Yeah, some do, especially when you could substantiate part of the reason why the number is low. Maybe they needed to do it in order to promote something specifically, or they had a particular year. You can always go backwards and see if that's a consistent theme. If they 2 years ago or 3 years ago return was not like that, sometimes there's an explanation as to perhaps why they've spent too much money marketing. It could have been a specific incident. Always back up your claim, I guess, so to speak, your grant. Give a reason why. I've seen some 16s go through. I've also seen some 16s get returned, but it's mostly because the student didn't take the time to try to validate what was going on with the organization. So because this is public knowledge, you have the right to call the organization and say, hey, can you kind of substantiate for me why you all have been spending this kind of money in this particular area? I'd like to write a grant for you. They're going to ask this question and I need some clarification. If you don't feel like you want to jump into it, then I would say look for another one just as a backup, just in case the grant committee says no. But if you said that you've been using it for work, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're familiar with them.
Yes.
Okay, so you have a personal insight, which is always beneficial. So on the last page of your organization review, it asks you why you're interested in this organization. That's the place where you can elaborate as to why you feel they are valid and should be awarded a grant.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Anybody else? How about the NOFs? Any questions over there, you guys, girls? Clear as mud?
Yeah, I think we walked through Peggy's last week, and I think we understand how to go through the form. So
cool. All right. Crystal and Hector, you're good? Yeah. Dana, how about you? Okay.
No, I actually no, it's one that I want to go with, and I'm gonna go with Loaves and Fishes. It scored 18 points.
Okay. Cool. Maritza and Graham.
Yeah, I think I'm okay.
Yeah, I think I'm okay too.
Okay. You have a coach though, so I'm not too worried about you guys.
Okay.
Antonio, Salome.
The one I'm trying to do scored like a 15. It's a program that I was in to help students go to like college and through college, and I don't know if it will pass, but I'll look into it more and And hopefully it does, because I really like the program. It helped me out a lot. And I'll send it in, see what you guys think. And then if it doesn't, I'll look for another one. And
Yeah, please do, because you have a personal story and that carries a lot of weight with the grant committee. So make sure you put in your story at the end, okay?
I will. All right.
Cool.
I wanted to also make sure you guys know, you don't just turn them in, you have to do a little 2-minute talk to the group, like you're the lawyer trying to justify the grant. So it's just not a turn-in thing. It's like you gotta, you gotta take some time, 2-3 minutes to present in front of class.
Yeah.
So this is week 4. We're over halfway through, so we really got to start cranking on some next week. So if you're ready to rock, don't be bashful.
All right. Keep it in mind.
Okay. Salome?
Yes, I'm okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
just checking. Okay, so we will jump into the poverty end of it. How many of you had a chance to watch Poverty Inc? Raise the hands. Oh, cool, most of you. Right on. And Karina, you said you've seen it before, so you're you have an inside view. Give me some of your feedback, guys. Open up your mics and share. Were you elated, disgusted, motivated?
Are you're talking about the Poverty Inc?
Yep, Poverty Inc. video. If you had a chance to watch it, I'm just wanting to get some of your feedback.
I actually thought it was really informative. I didn't think of poverty as like an incorporation that people like benefit from financially. It does make me think of like more ways that I can help instead of making them look like a burden,
Like that.
and actually doing something so that they can actually develop as a nation.
Yeah, instead of just a handout.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on. That's great. Anybody else have comments?
I think for me, it like surprised me, especially with like the Tom's shoe brand. Cause like I always was like, oh, that's so cool that they're doing that. And I never really realized or like thought about it in that way. So it like opened my eyes, I guess.
Yeah, not that it's a bad thing, obviously. I think as they talked about and repeated often was that everybody had a really good heart. The first woman that started talking said, it comes from a really good heart and people want to do this for the right reasons, right? And then it turns around and unwittingly, I think, and further down the road, we realized that it wasn't maybe the best thing and we could be doing things differently. So I'm glad your eyes are opened. What about the rest of you over there? Any insight?
It's important to give people the tools to take care of themselves and their families rather than just giving them something that you just started yourself, that you worked for and you provided for yourself, and now you're handing it out. Even though people need handouts from time to time, I think the tools in their own hands and the education and the resources are the most important part. Because like they said in the video, most people want to provide for their families and they want to do well. They just sometimes are stuck. And it's not always their fault that they're in that situation.
Agreed. Yeah. Certainly changes the perspective, I think, on, how to help, not just that, handout or, I want to, donate blood. Okay, that's really great. I'll give to the Red Cross, but is there an organization that maybe is doing a better job of being more impactful, right? Partnering with the right things. I know Giving University tries hard to partner with the right organizations to, if we're going to make an impact, let's go make, a specific and intentional impact that will make a difference to rebuild something rather than necessarily, feed. And we'll certainly go out and I know Veronica, went out and got a chance to, bring meals to people, which is really rewarding because then you get that soul to soul contact. But in a long range, giving situation, how do we combat poverty? And I think, the rebuilding idea is much better than the handout idea. So, anybody else want to share? Graham? No, you're good.
I just thought it was interesting, about how they're giving all this rice to Haiti and they're destroying their economy without even realizing that's what they were doing. Same with the solar power companies going in there and donating all the free equipment when these guys are trying to, make a business for themselves and, create jobs for other people there. They're oblivious to the fact that they're actually hindering them more than helping them.
Yeah, I think the part that hurts also, like emotionally, is the people who live there care about their country more than anybody else does. And so that's taking away from their pride.
Yeah, it sure does. It's a little frustrating because why did people go in and ask, well, what do you need?
What do you need?
What do you need? I think that really should be the first thing that we ask. And I even think that the trips that we put together are designed to do that. The whole point of going on a research trip that you all have a chance to go on is so that you can go and ask the people that you go to meet, what do you need? You can end up, occasionally we get excited, we got teams that went down to Belize and they were ready to build a tilapia farm for, this organization. And the reality of it is that, they talked about how great the tilapia farm would be, but they didn't have the infrastructure or the interest of the people to want to maintain a tilapia farm.
Yeah.
So it's important to really, when you go, that you're listening, that you're taking the time to understand what the need is rather than, be, all about what you think is appropriate. So Veronica's going to say goodnight real quick. Thanks for being on, friends. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Hi, Veronica.
Can I mention something else? One more
Please.
thing?
Yeah.
Okay, the only other thing I thought about was sustainability is once we leave, who's going to maintain this? How are they going to be sustainable to help themselves rather than us helping and then we go away and it could be another group of people and it may be us again, but we don't know. They have to be able to sustain and maintain that.
Yeah.
And I think that part's forgotten sometimes.
I wholly agree. And I liked those guys with the NERSA that was doing the lighting. They were creating something from their heart. It was needed. It was beneficial. It was of interest and they were growing their business. I know that they're still in business actually, because I looked them up just to see, because that was made, quite a few years ago. And so that's encouraging to know that, that's the kind of thing that you want to really invest in. Those are the people that you want to come alongside, right? And make a difference with. Yeah. So we're going to talk tonight a little bit about a couple of different areas of poverty. And, we're going to talk about the world. We all kind of know about, African poverty, and I think it's been beaten to death. But it's legit. We're going to talk about, how poverty affects our children and what that means. And then kind of look at poverty in America. And, poverty in America, I'm sure all of you've, been on a freeway somewhere or, seen somebody on the street in your neighborhood and recognize that, they're homeless. Does that really equate to poverty? So I'm going to throw up our slides here and we'll kind of zip through here. Share my screen. And don't hesitate to, raise your hand or come off a mute if you have a question. I would like to engage as an instructor so that I hear about what you're thinking. I can talk facts to you, forever and a day, but what I'm really curious is about you guys and what you see and what you're experiencing, what it means for you, from your perspective, how you want to change and make things different. So worldwide, and I checked these numbers, I think last year, and they're still pretty relevant. Interestingly, 2020, 2019, it's almost like the data, cultivating of data kind of stopped. So we don't have a lot of numbers. I think we're going to have to wait another couple of years before we really get back into the groove of data collection. So our numbers are kind of stale, but they're still relevant. So of the 6 billion people living in 1999, just thinking about how many lived on less than $1.90 a day. So I want you to think about that. And then of the 7.3 billion people living in 2015, how many lived on less than $1.90 a day then? So do you perceive that things improved, or do you think maybe that they were getting worse? Do you think it got better by 2015? Any thoughts?
I don't think so.
No, okay.
I think it got worse, probably.
Yeah, so obviously our population grew globally. So we grew by 1.3 billion in what, 16 years. So interestingly, back in 1999, 28% of that global population lived on $1.90 a day or less than that. So crazily, it actually improved. So less than 10%. So it increased and it changed. And so the question really is why did it change? What made it change? What was the shift? I think it was a lot more of the idea that people were more recognizing that there were issues. Perhaps in some ways, you know, some of our NGO efforts have improved that situation over the years. So interestingly, you are all you're in a similar idea and thought, which is most Americans thought it was getting worse. Would you venture to say that maybe media has changed how we perceive poverty? Thoughts on that? I'm always curious as to know, you know, why is my perspective the way it is? You know, what's shaped my thinking? And admittedly, you know, I might see like World Vision, for instance, and they're, you know, promoting poverty, and, you know, are they doing it for the lining of their own pockets, or are they doing it because there literally is an issue? Shifting a little bit of focus then from the world to Africa. So sub-Saharan Africa is everything that falls below the Sahara. And so poverty there, that has been ongoing for quite some time. And you got to see some of it in, you know, the Poverty Inc. video if you had a chance to watch it. So the question here is, you know, what percent live on $1.25 or less per day? You know, and can you imagine in our society what it would mean to live on $1.25 a day? You know, I think maybe I'd get to eat an apple and maybe, I don't know. I can't think of much, right? Apples, carrots, you know, we wouldn't have a lot to eat. And, but these people are living on that. So 41% of them lived on a less than $1.25 a day. That's 1 billion people in all of that section down there that's all colored. 1 billion people.
Which color, Beth?
Everything below the purple. So anything that's in the gray, we're talking about anything that's colored, whether it's the purple, the orange, the blue, the yellowish color at the bottom. That is a population of 1 billion people living in the sub-Saharan or below the Saharan desert. It's definitely an issue. So really part of the question is are we talking about not having the means to live on more, or are we talking about crops that they don't have? Why is there poverty there? Some of the discussion really falls on the fact that, you know, governments are corrupt, and I'm going to get into a little bit more of that. Is it a perception problem? Are they really poor as we think they are? And I think that it's about us changing our perspectives on them, and kind of going back to what Marissa said is making a difference and making it intentional and helping them in ways that is going to be beneficial to them. So anything on that? You guys have any comments or want to share about what you might know about poverty in Africa? No one? Okay. I always know that there's a plethora of knowledge amongst all of you, so I never want to like bypass the chance that you might have to share something that you know. We will be going, actually, I don't know if you can see it on the map, we'll be going to Nigeria here this November, which is going to be a really great trip. And then we're, like Dan said, we'll be hitting Uganda too, and hopefully go back to Nigeria again in the spring. So have a chance to go visit the people there. So moving on the ideas of poverty is poverty in children. Poverty in children kind of ends up manifesting itself in their health, and whether or not poverty, does it affect their ability to eat? You know, are their parents feeding them Do they get good nutrition? So I'd like you all to kind of think about what might be some of the reasons or preventable causes that kids might experience globally that would cause them to die, and diseases that could be prevented. Does anybody have some ideas they want to share? It's kind of like along the lines of something that you just kind of take for granted that you have.
Just, vaccines. I know that malaria is one of the big killers of children. And just, healthcare
Yep.
in general.
Yeah.
And the lack of it.
Right. And something that needs to be clean. Does anybody have a thought about what needs to be clean for good healthcare?
Water.
So anybody else? There's 5 of them.
Nutrition.
Okay. So we're going to compare this to, between the last, 2 decades roughly, and the top preventable diseases. 4.1 million children under the age of 5 died. In 1990, the number was 5 times higher. So things have improved. I think, like you touched on water, water's definitely improved, but there is still that need for clean water. And you touched on all of them, I think. Interestingly, I thought I was kind of surprised about newborn infections and breastfeeding, proper care, not having hospitalizations. I think it's been, a global thing. It's not new that, our children die in childbirth because of complications. And when you don't have hospitals, you deal with that differently than we would here in the United States. There's, I don't want to say it's a desensitization when it comes to having children in other countries, but it's just kind of a known fact that your children might not survive. And so these are some of the ways that can be preventable. So I think if you're thinking about ways to combat poverty, these are some of the 5 things that, we can combat poverty with. And some people, I know that Bill Gates's efforts for immunization is controversial with some people, but if we just look at these preventable diseases, his desire to help inoculate, third world countries and make a difference, has a far-reaching global perspective, and it can be beneficial. And maybe, we need to think about why that's important to other people's lives and the quality of lives that they have. Would it change poverty? I guess is ultimately that question. If we could change these 5 diseases, would it change the trajectory of people's lives enough to change the level of poverty? And that's kind of rhetorical. I don't necessarily expect you to, reply to that, but, something to be thinking about. So in contrast, poverty in America, I don't know who told me this, and I don't know if it was offhanded. I don't think that it's necessarily in our slides now that I think about it, but someone said, if you have 3 pairs of shoes, you are rich. You have more than most people have, and you're not poor. So that was interesting statistics. So the people in the US over 25, what group are the most likely to be living below the poverty level? Take a stab.
Senior citizens.
Okay.
Native Americans.
Okay.
For
Anybody else?
veterans. No.
Those are all great. Someone also said unwed. Those who are broken, and interestingly, it's those without an education, those who don't complete high school. Not a huge percentage, but big enough, right? That would prevent someone from, becoming able to care for themselves. And we're not even talking college. We're just talking about a basic high school education to be able to get through that, to have completed it. Most places want you to have completed a high school education in order to work in this country. So thoughts on how poverty is different from poverty in poorer countries? Does anybody know what a significant difference that the United States has that, let's say, Haiti doesn't have?
There's a social net, I mean, there are government services that, directly available to people here that, in Haiti, they're not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. So, same thing for like what Sweden, Finland, Germany, those countries that have wealth over the course of decades and centuries have been able to provide social networks, social offerings, things that have been able to support individuals, and that's significant. So you're right. Government programs, we can take a stab and say, gosh, we've hit rock bottom with our government programs, but they do keep us, to some degree, have that safety net. Even that homeless guy who's on the street, right? He could be a vet. If he's a vet, he has some kind of backup, so he's not totally, impoverished. There are shelters and there are options and there are opportunities that, the guy on the corner, even in Belize, for instance, can't necessarily, make ends meet. He's got to beg, and there is no social services network within Belize. There's the church, though, however, and the Catholic Church is really big on providing support. So, sometimes the faith-based countries like Belize has those types of supports there. So there is hope. I don't know, this is my favorite part, but this is always a moment where I'm like, what do we spend on weight loss products, and how much do we spend on obesity related healthcare? It kind of definitely gives me moments to pause, and I'm thinking, okay, so how could I change this? What would be different? Does anybody want to hazard a guess on how much we spend, millions perhaps of dollars or billions on weight loss programs?
10 million.
10 million, okay. Crystal, how about you?
5 million.
Okay, so I've heard 10, I've heard 5. Dana?
I don't know, 8 to 10 million.
Okay,
I'm gonna say at least $1 billion.
Yeah, it's a lot higher, I think.
I was gonna say $1 billion.
Yeah.
yeah. Crazy, yeah.
Oh my God.
It would take $44 billion to end world hunger. Gosh, could we take that 62 billion and throw that at world hunger, and then our 190 billion? We have so much, right? And this always kind of makes me, I guess, in my own sense, there's my own sense of shame that I could be doing something different, and why am I not changing my attitude about that and my focus on poverty? Definitely mind-blowing numbers. Those are, that's a lot of zeros at the end. Interestingly, the Food Policy Research Institute said even if we just took a 7 billion of that amount that we spend, we could make a huge dent in the poverty just in Africa alone. So, when your mom used to say to you, those of you who are older like me, make sure you clean your plate. People in Africa are starving, now you kind of have a different sense of why that was important, but it was not like your mom was going to scoop the leftovers, off the plate and into a takeaway box and send it off to Africa. But I think the point is, okay, be thoughtful, be mindful, and don't take for granted the fact that you have a full plate with food. Definitely changing my mindset as I've gotten older. Any other thoughts on, poverty before I go any further?
On this piece specifically, I feel like the weight loss part and the obesity related healthcare, like both of those can be like taught like to certain people, like through education. Like you can learn about your body and learn about ways to reduce fat without using these products that you're spending so much money on. But like things like world hunger, you can't really teach people not to go hungry. Like, you know what
No,
I'm
you're
saying?
right. Well, that's a really great point. Thanks for bringing that up. So maybe what kinds of organizations might do that kind of work where it might benefit young people? Does that rest on our government to have to do that? What is that plan that I saw listed in the school? They were usually doing like the food pyramid. Does it rely on our educators or does it rely on us? How do we maybe change that? Dana, do you have a thought on how to make a difference in that? To educate on health?
I would start with like government websites like the CDC and stuff like that. Like just informative things.
Yeah.
But I'm not really sure how to. I don't
Oh, I
know.
know. It's kind of one of those big local issues, right? You're like, wait,
Yeah.
what? Do you want me to solve it right now? No, it's more like getting you to think, well, what would you do? What would it, what if I changed who I gave my grant to? Maybe I decided to find some organization that was doing, good things with regards to health, or maybe in your long-term giving, those of you who give long-term already, maybe you're thinking more related to ways that organizations that help people be healthier and to change the trajectory of all of that money spent on weight loss. So anyway, just kind of going down a rabbit hole. Thanks. Right on. Okay, so this is a exercise that we're going to kind of talk a little bit through. So thinking hats back on, do you presume that there is a fixed amount of wealth in the world? And what does that mean? So if we're looking at a fixed amount of wealth in the world, does it change? Can it shift? Can it grow? So I want you to kind of consider that a minute. When we go on our international trips, we often have a chance to meet and learn how to address global issues. And so this is kind of we're going to take the idea of the international trip a little bit further and think about, what does it look like if, we can change the amount of wealth in the world. So we have a poker game. 20 people are participating in the poker game. They put in $100 each. At the end of the game, one person has $2,000. They were the one that won the pot. This is an example of a fixed amount of wealth. So did the total amount of wealth change? It's kind of rhetorical. The answer is no. It was just redistributed, right? It went between the different players, the 20 who were in there, who threw their $100 in, and then one person walked away with the kitty. Different from that, and I don't know, sorry, I just realized I've been zippity doo-dah through here. I don't know if Dan told you, but anytime you see a pencil, you can be taking notes. They don't really give you quizzes at the end, but this kind of goes along with that handout that we gave you in the beginning. You can go along and fill that in if you want to. So anytime you see a pencil like that. Sorry. Okay, so when it comes to anything outside of a poker game, however, there is not a fixed amount of wealth. And so I'm going to kind of illustrate that a little bit. So let's consider that there was an area where there were no farms, and then later there's a farm. And after that, you now have new wealth. And I saw a lot of that in India. I had a chance to lead a team to India, and there was one organization that was going into different neighborhoods and helping people kind of lift themselves up out of poverty. And they would assess a particular neighborhood and make a decision. Does it need a tea cart? Do they need a crop of corn? Do they need to, irrigate and create a fish pond? And so they would assess what was needed in the different communities and then help them grow in that way to be more self-sufficient and self-sustaining. So they were in essence creating they were going beyond, just the fixed amount of wealth. So if you buy a piece of cloth for $1 and you sell finished clothes for $5, again, there's new wealth. If a bank or a credit card loans you money, if you take that money that you have borrowed and produce something with it, then you've created new wealth. And this is the good part. If you buy an iPhone for 500 and then drop it in the toilet, there is definitely less wealth in the world. And sad people at the same moment where you realize there goes your iPhone. So taking this into account, kind of talking about the idea of those solar lights in Haiti and the Papillon beads, you know, that organization, they were perfect representations of creating new wealth, right? They were doing something emotionally involved. They were helping their countrymen feel accountable. You know, they were definitely making a difference. So I'm wondering, have any of you actually experienced anything like this in your travels? Have any of you traveled? Let me ask you that internationally. No travelers? Oh, okay.
We've traveled, but I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah. I know it depends on what kind of travel experience you've been on. You know, if you've been on a mission trip, then you might have seen something to that degree.
No.
Yeah. Antonio, have you traveled?
Not really. I've been to like the closer states nearby, but that was only for a short period of time. I flew out to I drove to Utah family to go visit some family. I've been to New Mexico, but I haven't really went too far away or anything like that. Been to Washington, and but I didn't really consider that traveling to me. I haven't took any
Mhm.
I haven't traveled flew out far away and did anything as an experience. I just went to go visit and then come right back.
Yeah. I think, Dan, you've got a new recruit. You need to take him down to Agua Viva. Put him to work down in Agua Viva.
Everybody needs to go.
Yeah, so Dan has been heading up a service trip for the last, is it 30 years now?
At least.
At least 30? Yeah, so he takes a team of guys and gals down. Tell them where, I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly where you go. I always say south of Tijuana, but I know that doesn't do it justice.
We've been going to Ensenada, about 20 miles east, and it's 170 acres. And most of the time we work on the facility. And a lot of times we have inner city kids come in for a couple of days. So we work with our hands, build buildings, and we try to hang out a little bit with the kids also. Last year, we mixed in on that trip, staying at an orphanage for a couple of days. And next year, if I get the trip approved, we'll stay at an orphanage or a rehab center for 2 days, and then we'll go to Agua Viva for a couple of days. But we're trying to set up a few more service trips, because you get 2 trips. You get a big trip and a service trip, and we try to make them interesting and different. And that way you get a good mix of stuff.
Yeah.
Like this one year when we went to Agua Viva, we went to a little music school in Ensenada, a really nice little music school. The reason we liked it is they were training all the kids. And for the most part, the kids were pretty poor, and they were pretty much funding the kids playing violins and all that. What we really liked is the kids were taught how to teach other kids, and they were taking some of those kids into the prisons, where sometimes they have kids in prison, and they were sharing with them how to play some instruments. So we kind of liked how they were trying to chain the improvement, and multiply it with the kids. And so that's the kind of things that we try to take a look at.
Yeah. We took 2 teams of people down to Ensenada to build houses, and that was really insightful. You did more than just build somebody a house. You were giving them a lift up, definitely encouragement, and helping people have a different sense of the opportunities that are in front of them, and feeling like they were cared for. I think just a roof over our heads, rather than living under a blue tarp and pieces of plywood. makes a significant difference in that need to overcome poverty. And I think that that's where education and changing a mindset so much more important, right, than more rice.
I agree with that because I think people get discouraged and if all they see around them is that they have no hope. So I think that to spark that hope in them, to make them realize it could get better, I think that's really important.
So Crystal and Hector, have you been anywhere where you've had firsthand witness of poverty and seen that?
Not really. We kind of just travel around us, like California, but we haven't been anywhere where we witnessed
Yeah.
poverty.
How about you, Salome?
Yeah, I've been like living here in the United States, but also in my country. And I'm from Ecuador. So when I was in high school, I used to have like a service trips, like we went to a small cities in my country to help really poor people, and their poverty was really bad. Like in a small kind of house, it was like made with materials that they had over there. They used to live like 7 people, and they used to eat like every day just with the water that it wasn't like clean water. They had like the water of the river and things like that. So they used to cook and just like they didn't have like proteins, just like fruit, and it was really bad. So
Have things
yeah.
gotten better?
Not really. In some places, like with okay, in the last 10 years, it was supposed to be better our economy, and I think there was less poverty than other years. But after pandemic, we start having more social problems and more poverty, and also with the migration of people from Venezuela. So now I'm from Quito. Quito is the capital of Ecuador.
Right.
And right now you see in the streets like a lot of homeless that in I don't know, maybe 5 years ago you didn't see, and now it's more homeless people and things like that.
Yeah. So you think the homeless population is affected by the immigrants from Venezuela?
Yes, at the last 2 years, yeah, it's been. I think we have been affected because in some places people prefer to give a job to a person from Venezuela because they don't pay them like all the things that they have to pay.
Right, the regular wages or the taxes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They pay less,
Mhm.
and they prefer to contract.
Okay. Do contractor work. Mhm.
Yes, and it gets worse, and after pandemic,
Yeah.
it's really bad. I was in Ecuador the last month. In August, I was in Ecuador, and it's getting worse because it's being affected the security.
Yep. Safety.
Yeah.
It's not as safe
Yeah,
as
it's
before.
safe.
Yeah.
Yes, and yeah, it's not good because I've been living in my country when it was like better, and it's different. And right now it's not good to be there.
It's hard to go back, right? And see how things have changed. Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts about this, but how the world will recover from COVID. You know, we certainly in the United States are struggling with a variety of things, obviously mental health being one of the top things, and then the crazy labor issues that we're having with unable to really hire quality people, and the balance there, and now inflation, you know, and I would imagine that our numbers in our slides will change in a few years, you know, when we look back at 2020 and 2021 to see, you know, how poverty has perhaps changed, you know, and it's clear that, you know, natural disasters are going to continue. So, yeah, we'll definitely have some interesting things to be talking about as we go on. Thanks, Salome, for sharing. Let me go back to my slide. So kind of generic conversation, you know, again, our numbers are kind of stale, but as we have grown in our advancements, our technology, the gross world product, which is basically the sum of all the goods and services worldwide. You know, this is everything that transpires back and forth between countries, and technology and food and manufacturing and steel. And you can tell that we have definitely increased our output globally. And I think those people who are, and I know that there's a phrase for it, but I totally drawn a blank, but people who want a greater world unity, you know, are getting that. They're seeing that, you know, we are more intertwined, and, you know, the fall of the Nikkei in Japan really affects, you know, how our market does in the United States. And as we're seeing now and more in the news, the building developers in China, their efforts or their default on their loans are going to affect all of us globally. So we've definitely grown. We've grown closer together. It makes it certainly a different dynamic when it comes to poverty. You can turn around and say, well, you know, the United States shouldn't keep sending so much money out for world aid. You know, why aren't these other, you know, countries stepping up to the plate? And those really are bigger questions, you know, of how do we, things we certainly can't fix, but I think more it's about us changing our mindset and to say, okay, I want to do something a little different with regards to poverty. You know, do I help a family that I know I can make a difference with and know that the money goes directly to them, or do I change where I give? Where is my generosity going to be? So interestingly, over time, the poor countries have grown faster than the richer countries. And I think that that's come, you know, from development, growing over time, you know, getting new advancements and that sort of thing. So why can't poor people just start working? I think that there are a number of different reasons. If y'all want to chime in, feel free, raise your hand. Any thoughts on anybody? I know I popped one up already.
Mental health issues, addiction.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes employers will try to be nice and be like, yeah, give us a call back, but a lot of homeless people don't even have phones or anything, so it's like almost like a slap in the face because they know the answer and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe they don't have the resources or skills to.
Yeah, I agree with that too. You know, thinking from a third world perspective, much along the lines of, you know, just even as Salome pointed out about Venezuela, you know, the government's corrupt. There is just so much greed and avarice, and, you know, the stories that you hear over and over, you know, decades ago with Africa and a lot of third world, you know, is just, it's not a fair place, and it's not safe, and it's not kind, you know, it's not the United States, it's not Europe. You know, so not having resources, you're right, whether it's easy access to a phone even, and for that matter, they don't even know how to get started. You know, where do I start? You know, do I need an education? Well, I need someone to tell me how to get an education, or I need someone to say, hey, let me come help you. They don't have that. Or for that matter, there are no raw materials to work with. And, you know, if you are in sub-Saharan Africa, that's probably pretty true, because, you know, you aren't necessarily going to have, you know, the ability to chop down wood and turn around and turn it into something and then have a marketplace where you can sell it. So those are things that definitely are detrimental to the opportunity to start working again. There are kind of like what you might consider obstructions to the solutions. And so I think too, we have kind of bred a culture of laziness to some extent. And, you know, how do you, again, this is all thought-provoking kind of questions, you know, how do you change that? What do you do differently in your own minds, or how do you impact other people in your life to maybe see life that it's a different way to think about poverty, or a different way to get started, a different way to, you know, escape it. So ultimately the question is, do you think that the poor can escape from the trap of poverty?
Guess you want to feel optimistic and feel like, you know, people can lift themselves up, you know, if they're given the right opportunity, and you know, instead of, you know, giving them the fish, teaching them how to fish, you know, like that whole concept of, you know, not just giving them a handout, but giving them, you know, an opportunity to learn a skill and to go apply it and, you know, get a job.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, Sage. That's very true. So we started a class for 6 to 12-year-olds, and it's been really interesting to kind of teach kids that they need to broaden, you know, their thought process on where they think about how to help somebody. And it's been curious to have them talk about, you know, what they think poverty is and what a poor person looks like. And you know, if we're just talking about our local communities, you know, the poor people in our lives are the homeless, or it's the somebody said senior citizen, you know, that is eating, you know, canned pet food because it's cheaper than regular tuna fish. You know, is that what we see? So we had one little girl who has a friend who she knows is really struggling, and he's 17. He happens to be the head of the household. His mom works 3 jobs, and there are 3 siblings, and just the delight that she had in knowing that she could give this young boy a grant and to help him see differently kind of did just that, Sage. It you know, helped change the trajectory, I think, of just his thinking that he had value and he had worth. And I think that that's part of the ways, you know, that we can help some people in poverty, you know, escape the trap. We do have a list though. So yes, they can escape it. Going back to the idea of, you know, clean drinking water, definitely education. Like you said, Dana, in, you know, healthcare, you know, that's definitely a leg up that we can, you know, change someone's perspective on where life is going to take them, and that they're not stuck there. That they don't have to, even though McDonald's is cheap, you know, there is fruit and vegetables and things that you could be eating that balances out your diet and changing that. And that I think applies to the United States, or it applies to, you know, Kenya, or it applies to Belize. It applies all over the world, you know, across the board. Teaching people or encouraging them, right, to be entrepreneurs, like those missionaries down to Haiti, and creating the BEAD program and showing people that they have that opportunity to create something new and take that creativity and turn it into something amazing. Seed money. So have anybody heard of Kiva? Kiva is a kind of a micro lending organization. Okay. So Kiva is one of our instructors really has started to kind of partner with Kiva to have a chance to invest a small dollar amount, and you turn around and you pick a person, and I think further in my slides I have more on Kiva. So using the micro lending idea to help give seed money for businesses. And I'll get into that in a minute. More government transparency. Limiting foreign aid, which we know is probably necessary, but it's difficult because we want to rescue and we want to save them. And then again, going back to the idea of the culture of laziness, changing that particular mindset, thinking about how to help them legally to do things well, you know, educating on a legal basis, how to teach people to, you know, get past the corruption of their governments. how to do, find life sustaining things that are going to help to contribute to the betterment of our world. So solutions. I don't want to just talk about all the problems, because otherwise all we do is stand there and point fingers and then we don't come up with solutions. But I think we've already been, cultivating the ideas with solutions. So is there one solution? I don't know that there's just one solution, but I think the right way to end poverty is through economic growth. And, we kind of have a little bit of evidence of that through the Poverty Inc. movie. But anybody have any thoughts on, an organization that you are picking that you know is working on economic growth?
For my organization, Loaves and Fishes, they do help people get jobs. So that could be one.
Yeah, definitely. So do they help them with job placement?
Yeah, they help them with housing, food, jobs, all that.
Right on. Are they faith-based or secular?
I'm sorry?
Are they faith-based or secular?
What is secular?
Secular is like the world versus the church.
I'm not sure, but I'll get back to you on it.
Oh, no worries. I was just curious.
Okay.
Thanks. Anybody else?
Beth
Yeah.
is using church words.
What?
I said you're using church words.
I was gonna say, yeah, loaves and fishes, I'd be willing to bet it's faith-based.
Well, I think so, yes, but you never know,
I think it is.
Someone have integrity.
What did you say?
Like in second grade, my second grade class would read, and we did this got donors to sign up, and we donated all the money to Loaves and Fishes.
And she goes to,
So I think it is faith. Yeah.
Okay, right on. I hadn't heard of them. And they probably have come through, but we have a lot of different organizations, which is very cool. We don't often see the same ones twice. So I just was curious. So thanks. Y'all educated me tonight. Thank you.
And also faith-based or non-faith-based. We like them both.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, not to say that we are solely focused on one or the other. In fact, it's always encouraging when there's something good going on anywhere, right? That's stimulating economy and growth and new ideas. So how do you grow an economy? And we've kind of already been talking about it, and that's with seed money and with training. I think education is one of those big factors. Taking something like Loaves and Fishes and saying, hey, we want to help you get a leg up. We want to help you find a place to live. We want to help you with your resume. We're going to put you in a suit and send you out, on a job interview. That to me is that seed money, I think in itself, that seed investment into that person, that tells them, hey, you have value and you have worth, and, I believe in you and you can do that. So another thought process of the solution. If you gave a third world entrepreneur 2 rabbits, what's he most likely to do? He's going to raise the rabbits, feed his family, and then you have surplus to sell. He's going to, do what he needs to do to feed his family. And if that means, having hundreds of rabbits all over the house, all over the backyard, then he's going to do that, because that's his solution to lifting his family out of poverty. Again, another example, giving someone carrot seeds and growing the carrots to feed the rabbits, those kinds of solutions are out there. And going back to the idea of the India Christian Ministries does just that with their seed money. Like I said, they will scout out a small village and determine someone might come to them asking for a micro loan and saying, hey, I want to start a tea cart, but they are helping to be responsible from the aspect that they're like, well, wait a minute, let's see if you really need a tea cart. Is there maybe something else that needs to be done? So there is more equity in what is sold. So you don't have 3 tea carts and nobody growing carrots. I think that there are many more organizations like ICM that are doing more of that in the world and trying to facilitate, providing banking solutions. And a lot of what Kiva does is provides banking solutions for individuals that do want to do more as entrepreneurs. So Proverbs for thought, he who is generous will be blessed. for he gives some of his food to the poor. I didn't really always understand this particular proverb. How am I going to be blessed if I give away, what I have? It's just taking from my pocket to give to another. So I thought I'd throw this back at all of you. Have any of you had a chance where you have given to somebody else and came away with a good feeling or felt blessed just by, giving out of your own pocket? I'd love to hear your stories. Maggie, was that you that talked about the school?
Yeah, we had to get like sponsors to like say like we'll pay you this much for how many like books or like pages or what minutes you read. I forget what it was. And so like it like encouraged everyone to read a lot because we were trying to get to a certain goal of money to donate to Loaves and Fishes.
Cool. So how do you feel after it?
Good, really good. Yeah.
Obviously it stuck with you. You were
Yeah,
doing it.
definitely. And like we had like an assembly and we got to give this lady like a basket with like the check in it and she was like crying and it was just like cool to see.
Nice. Very cool. I like that. Thanks for sharing that story. Anybody else? No, I see Maritza and Graham talking. Are you just like talking? Or...
I'm trying to encourage him to share.
Okay, I'm gonna like pull it out of you. Come on, tell me your story.
Well, I can't remember the name of the organization, but they were advertising on one of the radio stations we used to listen to at work. And it was donating so that people in another country could buy goats and, various livestock. And that just left me with a, warm and fuzzy feeling after I did that.
Yeah.
Really cool.
I love that. Have you done it again?
Not on that level, but just, just around town, just helping, giving guys bottles of water and stuff and, giving them money when I can, but.
I heard that you've given away some of your services.
Yeah, I've just, given some time and stuff to help people out.
Yeah, yeah. Would you give me an example what you've done with work? Put you on the spot.
Yeah, I've had guys just, wash my car and, give them money to help them out that way so that they actually felt like they were doing something to earn the money too.
Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else? Karina? No, yeah, Sage, go ahead.
So I was going to say, we donate every year to a scholarship fund for an underprivileged girl in high school to go to an all-girls Catholic private high school.
Wow.
That's a great, we love it. And then actually the great thing is my kids haven't gotten to meet the recipient yet, but I've met her and it's just amazing to hear, what her family sacrifices for her to go to this school, to give her the opportunity, to get educated and
yeah,
more than what they were able to do.
She could be the only one in generations in a family, right? You never know what that drop of that seed, of just that seed money or the opportunity, right, can just blossom and blow it up for somebody like that. Very cool. Love that. Thank you guys for sharing. I appreciate that. Antonio, how about you? Do you give and find joy in giving?
Yeah, I do. A lot of times I carry change in my car and extra water bottles. So when I see someone out on a hot day, like standing with a sign, I have no problem giving them whatever change I have on me and water bottles. And if there's snacks in my car, I pass that out as well.
I was thinking that you being up there in the areas that are devastated by fires, you might see more of that, the tough part, right, of people losing their houses completely. I was just wondering if you'd run into that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of houses burnt down to the ground, and I ran into a lady who had like a small little cafe store, and she was talking about it a little bit. And hers cafe store is like kind of like in the middle of nowhere. It seems like she doesn't get too much business, so I just bought as much food as I could off of her and to like help out and stuff. And my coworker had pulled up as well, and I had him buy some food too because we needed food, and it was a good idea to. I just wanted to spend some money there because what she said to me like felt like she really did lost a lot, and she said this isn't the first time fires happen here because fires happen there often, and I just wanted to buy whatever I could off of her.
Yeah, that's very cool. I love that. You know, and yeah, she may be used to fires, but that doesn't mean that it makes it any easier, right, to cope
Yeah,
with
of course.
another
not.
fire, right? Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Right on, man. That's cool. I like that. Okay, so we are almost ready to wrap it up. Go back to my slide. Last proverb for thought is whoever gives to the poor will lack nothing, but those who close their eyes to poverty will be cursed. And, you know, just you all sharing, I think just goes to the point that you will lack nothing. And I'm not talking about just change in your pocket, but I think just that general sense of knowing that you have made a difference in someone's life. And if that's all you take away from anything that you give, even in this class, if all you get from this is just a greater sense of awareness about generosity, or, you know, recognizing more opportunities to do something different, you know, and even going so far as like we, you know, I'm sure Dan talked about it, you know, in the beginning about the entitlement issue and looking at someone who you perceive is not worthy, but yet doing it anyway, right, is that opportunity where you are giving, and you will therefore, you know, lack nothing because you will have given from the heart, and you will have, you know, extended your hand of generosity to people that, you know, are deeply wounded. You just don't know who you're going to run into. It's like, you know, just because you see somebody homeless, you don't know their backstory, you know, don't know what's happened to them. And like, you know, that young girl who got the scholarship, you don't know where their struggles have been. And so for any of us to extend that hand of generosity to make a difference in somebody's life, this is really what these are trying to say, is that you will not, it's not a waste of your time. You will not walk away without a feeling of encouragement yourself, knowing that you have perhaps done something that, you know, lifted that person up for even just a moment in time. And again, my computer keeps freezing every time I come back to this. Okay. So going to touch on the micro lending idea for just a little bit and talk about Kiva, and then we'll get ready to wrap it up, probably finish a little earlier. So the idea of micro lending, like I touched on, you know, India Christian Ministries does micro lending, Kiva does micro lending. I know that they are not the only organizations out there, but we're just kind of using them as an illustration. You know, it's lending small amounts of money to entrepreneurs that want to get a business running. They use co-ops. There is a banking organization that is based, it's called a seed bank, and they're out in, I want to say Kenya. It could be Kenya. I think it's in coffee areas where coffee is grown. So I think it's probably Kenya. So what they do is they, you know, have these banking opportunities where people can put their money, and it's easily accessed with, you know, a card. They'll go into the seed bank and they will get more seeds to grow more coffee or more crops. There's all kinds of unique and very interesting things that are out there. And as the more we've researched, it's pretty explosive. And now that you are armed with tools on how to identify legitimate organizations, you can turn around and, you know, make some decisions about, you know, maybe giving in a micro lending side, as well as, you know, other opportunities to give to organizations that help feed people. But again, the most successful ones are co-ops. Kiva actually has, the numbers changed. They have a 97% payback rate. And I think the only reason that that's changed is that, you know, the economies of scale in different countries have changed, and the ability to pay back. They really focus on finding people who are legitimately trying to do something right, that are working to help their families. And they go about the business of screening the people to make sure that if it's needed in that area, it's legitimate, kind of like what ICM does in India, They make sure that there's a need there before they just say, hey, yeah, here's $5,000, go buy more clothes and sell them in your marketplace. So when you go on kiva.org, you can choose the people, you can choose the areas, you can choose the kind of borrower you're looking for. Are you just looking to support women only? Are you looking for entrepreneurs in a particular country? You can turn around and make a loan for as small as $25, and you can decide that once that $25 is loaned out and even paid back, you can keep it in there so that it continues to pay out to different, borrowers. So the cycle is really great to see that growth and know that the money continues to be used. As it says, get repaid, repeat. So it's kind of like washing your hair, lather, rinse, repeat. You can do that same thing through Kiva and do the micro lending opportunity. As you can see on the screen, they've got this guy from Kyrgyzstan, and he needs a dairy cow because he needs to increase his sales of clean milk. Stories like that persist all through over and over again. Moms that want to make a difference, Muslim moms, and I think you can see them. They're in the top line where the women are in with their head covering. They are making clothes, for their children and selling those clothes, and all kinds of opportunities are available. So as I said, to get a little farther into it, you can choose a borrower, you can choose a loan amount, you get repaid, and then you have that opportunity to continue to give. The cool part about Kiva, and we've kind of introduced it into the kids GU side, is teaching kids to identify organizations and people, that are doing more of ways to improve their own lives and make a difference. So kind of cool. We like them because they're doing good work. And these are just some of the categories. You can choose to support someone who needs shelter, someone who needs education, the conflict zone, Afghanistan refugees, for instance, sustainable ventures, people that are, raising goats and using the goats for more than just milk or for agricultural reasons. Quite a few places that you can give. And right now we have set up a lending team. Giving University has a lending team, and I'll email that out to you if you're interested in participating in the group lending idea that our instructor Mark Kerr had started. So all kinds of groups, as you can tell, atheists and agnostics have groups, groups with Christians, groups like school groups, all kinds of people participate in Kiva. So just one of those good opportunities to be considering. This is kind of like my parting slide. I really like this. It's more thought-provoking than it is anything else. So from the University of Stanford Medicine, if we were to shrink the Earth's population into a village of precisely 100 people with all the existing human ratios remaining the same, it would look something like this. There would be 57 Asians, 21 Europeans, 14 from the Western Hemisphere, 8 Africans, 52 females, and 48 males. 70 would be non-white and 30 would be white. 70 would be non-Christian and 30 would be Christian. Only 6 of those people would possess 59% of the entire world's wealth, and all 6 of those people would be from North America. 80 of those 100 would live in the substandard housing. 70 would be unable to read. 50 would suffer from malnutrition. 1 would be near life and 1 would be near death. And only one would have a college education, and only 1 would own a computer. Certainly puts life into perspective and generosity into perspective. I hope this has kind of stimulated some conversations in your own minds. How are you going to look at poverty? What does that mean for your own generosity? What will you do different, if anything? Yeah, so next week, Dan, are you going to start your org review presentations?
Yeah, whoever's ready will start. We'll work as many in as we have. So, whoever wants to be ready, we'll do them.
Okay.
I think you might want to email us ahead of time so we know.
I can do that.
And we can also take a look at the 990 scoring and all that good stuff.
Can you guys explain a little bit about the presentation? Is it like a PowerPoint or is it just paper and we talk or what?
You should have the grant review form. You have that, is that correct?
Uh-huh.
Basically, complete the form and then you don't have to read it or anything. You just have to have it completed. And then when you do your 2 minutes, just kind of talk about everything. You know, say why you like them, say what they do. Tell us what their scoring was on the 990. Tell us if you've been involved with them. You know, things like that. Talk as much as you want. Or I mean, I've had some people talk too much, but you know, 2 or 3 minutes is good.
Yeah, 3 minutes is good. No PowerPoint needed.
Okay.
Unless you're really passionate about something you want to share, then, you know, yeah, definitely. Okay.
So far, I think we've had one. So next week, who's close? Let me see those hands. Okay, Diana's close. Who else?
Dana, Karina.
Okay, so
Peggy's got her hand up.
okay, so make sure there's a couple more of you than I see hands. Because let me tell you what happens. You get to the end and you haven't done it. I've done this too long. So shoot for next week.
Yeah.
How many, raise your hand if you logged into GuideStar.
Cool. Good job.
Everybody gone into GuideStar?
Star.
There you go. That's a good start.
Right. Peggy, did you have a question? I just saw your hand back there. Okay.
Antonio, did you log into GuideStar?
I have not logged in yet.
Okay.
I'm
Tomorrow,
gonna start doing everything. Like I'm gonna start catching up now because I'm back home and connection's a lot better. So
okay,
I'll be able to get all the stuff done.
I want you to be my star student next Sunday.
Okay.
No pressure. Hey, he's been out in the field. Come on, you got to give him a little grace. He's got 3 weeks.
We have a high bar.
But to keep you updated, I think I might be going back out on Wednesday, and it's going to be from Wednesday maybe to Friday.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'm probably going to have to be in the next Sunday class as well,
Okay.
instead of the Thursday.
No
and I like the
problem.
Sunday classes. It's I like it. I don't know, but yeah, I'll be prepared. I don't know about the star student, but I'm gonna do my part.
I will comment on the fact that it's tough when you are done with this to turn in an org review when you don't have the momentum. So I will encourage you to do that. I have had people turn in org reviews and grants, you know, after the fact. But, you know, it is a little frustrating for them because it doesn't go as fast. What we try to do is submit all of them together for the grant committee to review them at the same time. So we get feedback faster if we do it at the end of class versus waiting, you know, 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks. So just want to throw that out at you. Okay.
Okay, no problem.
Great feedback, you guys. I really appreciate your interaction and sharing all the